Exposed. The marriage system that enslaves men. Christina Hoff Sommers. What I'm about to expose will shatter everything you believe about marriage. And if you're a married man watching this, you might want to prepare yourself. Because once you see the chains, you can never unsee them. Right now, millions of men are living as slaves in their own homes. They work themselves to death, hand over their paychecks, lose their identity and call it love. But what if I told you this isn't an accident? What if this entire system was designed to exploit male psychology in the most ruthless way possible? My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I've spent the last 15 years studying the marriage industrial complex, and what I've discovered will disturb you to your core. The data is undeniable. The patterns are everywhere. And the woman who first exposed this conspiracy has been silenced, discredited, and attacked for telling the truth. Christina Hoff Sommers tried to warn us decades ago. She showed us the research, presented the evidence, and revealed how modern marriage has become a sophisticated system of male enslavement. But they buried her findings. They labeled her controversial. They made sure her message never reached the men who needed to hear it most. Today, I'm bringing her suppressed research into the light. And what you're about to learn will either free you or terrify you. Maybe both. Before we dive into this explosive content, I need you to do something. If you want more videos that expose the uncomfortable truths they don't want you to know, smash that like button right now. And comment below with just one word, exposed, if you're ready to see how deep this rabbit hole goes. Here's the reality nobody talks about. Marriage today isn't what your grandfather experienced. It's not a partnership between equals. It's a carefully constructed system that transforms independent men into compliant providers, and most men never even realize it's happening. The statistics are staggering. Married men work an average of 8.5 hours more per week than single men. They earn 27% more income, but control 40% less of their own money. They report lower life satisfaction, higher stress levels, and significantly decreased personal freedom compared to their unmarried counterparts. But here's the part that will blow your mind. This isn't accidental decline. This is systematic engineering. Christina Hoff Sommers discovered that modern marriage operates on what she called the provider trap. It's a psychological framework that exploits three fundamental aspects of male psychology: the protector instinct, the achievement drive, and the desire for female approval. Let me break this down in a way that will make your blood run cold. First, they activate your protector instinct. From the moment you say, "I do," you're told that providing for your family is your primary masculine duty. Not just financially, but emotionally, physically, and psychologically. You become responsible for everyone's happiness, except your own. This isn't love. This is weaponized responsibility. Second, they hijack your achievement drive. Society tells you that your worth as a husband is measured by your ability to increase your family's lifestyle. Bigger house, better cars, private schools, luxury vacations. The bar keeps rising, and you keep working harder to meet expectations that grow faster than your income. This isn't ambition. This is engineered exhaustion. Third, they exploit your desire for female approval. Your wife's happiness becomes your report card. If she's unhappy, you're failing as a husband. If she's dissatisfied, you need to try harder. If she's stressed, you need to do more. Your emotional state becomes completely dependent on her emotional state. This isn't partnership. This is psychological slavery. And the most insidious part, you're trained to see this exploitation as virtue. You're told that sacrificing your dreams, your freedom, and your identity makes you a good man. That working yourself to death for other people's benefit is masculine responsibility. But Christina Hoff Sommers asked the question nobody wanted to answer. If this system is so beneficial for men, why are married men dying younger, suffering more depression, and reporting lower life satisfaction than single men? The answer is simple. Because the system isn't designed to benefit men. It's designed to extract maximum value from men while giving them just enough emotional rewards to keep them compliant. Think I'm exaggerating? Let me share some data that will make you question everything. According to recent studies, 73% of married men report feeling like they have no control over major financial decisions in their households, despite being the primary breadwinners. 68% say they feel guilty when they spend money on themselves. 82% report that their hobbies, friendships, and personal interests have declined significantly since marriage. But here's the number that should terrify every man watching this. 91% of married men say they would make different choices if they could start over, but 94% say they feel trapped in their current situation. That's not marriage. That's a prison with a wedding ring as the key they threw away. Pause this video right now and hit that like button if these statistics are hitting too close to home. And comment below, what percentage of your pre-marriage freedom do you think you still have? Now let me show you how this system operates in practice, because understanding the mechanism is the first step toward breaking free. The marriage industrial complex uses what Christina Hoff Sommers identified as the progressive capture strategy. It doesn't enslave you all at once. That would be too obvious. Instead, it gradually strips away your autonomy through a series of seemingly reasonable requests and social expectations. Stage 1 is the romantic investment. During courtship and early marriage, you're encouraged to demonstrate your commitment through increasingly expensive gestures, engagement rings that cost months of salary, wedding ceremonies that drain your savings, honeymoons that max out credit cards. You're told this proves your love, but it actually proves your willingness to sacrifice financial security for female approval. Stage 2 is the lifestyle escalation. Once you're legally bound, the expectations expand. Bigger apartment, better neighborhood, nicer furniture, newer cars. Each upgrade is presented as a natural progression, a sign of your success as a provider. But each upgrade also increases your financial obligations and reduces your flexibility to make independent choices. Stage 3 is the responsibility multiplication. Children arrive, and suddenly your obligations explode exponentially. College. Funds, life insurance, larger homes, family vacations, extracurricular activities. Your earning requirements triple, but your personal time and freedom disappear. You become a machine optimized for converting labor into lifestyle maintenance. Stage 4 is the identity dissolution. Your role as husband and father becomes your entire identity. Your individual dreams, goals, and interests are gradually sacrificed for family obligations. You stop being a person and become a function, provider, protector, problem solver. Your value is measured entirely by your utility to others. Stage 5 is the emotional dependency. Your wife's moods dictate your emotional state. Her dissatisfaction becomes your crisis. Her wants become your responsibilities. You lose the ability to be happy independent of her approval. You become psychologically addicted to maintaining her satisfaction, even at the expense of your own well-being. By the time you reach stage 5, escape feels impossible. You're financially obligated, socially expected, and emotionally dependent. You've become what Christina Hoff Sommers called the perfect slave, someone who maintains his own chains because he's been convinced that bondage is virtue. The genius of this system is that it makes you complicit in your own enslavement. You're not being forced. You're choosing. Every day you choose to prioritize everyone else's needs over your own. Every day you choose to work harder for less personal benefit. Every day you choose to measure your worth by your utility to others. But here's what they never tell you. Those choices aren't really choices when you're operating within a system designed to eliminate alternatives. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this point. Last year, I interviewed a successful engineer who realized he was living as a slave in his own marriage. He was working 60-hour weeks, earning 6 figures, and handing over every paycheck to his wife for household management. He had no access to his own money, no time for his own interests, and no say in major family decisions. When I asked him why he tolerated this arrangement, his answer was chilling. I thought this was what being a good husband meant. I thought sacrifice was love. I thought my job was to make everyone else happy, even if it killed me. This man had internalized his own oppression so completely that he couldn't recognize slavery when he was living it. But here's where his story gets interesting. He started applying Christina Hoff Sommers' framework for recognizing and resisting marital exploitation. He began documenting how his time, energy, and resources were being allocated. He started questioning whether the sacrifices he was making were actually benefiting his family or just enabling dysfunction. What he discovered shocked him. Most of his sacrifices weren't creating family benefit, they were creating family dependency. His wife had become addicted to his overgiving, and his children had learned to expect unlimited resources without personal responsibility. He wasn't being a good provider, he was being an enabler. He wasn't being a loving husband, he was being a convenient ATM. He wasn't being a strong father. He was being a servant who taught his children that love means exploitation. Once he saw the pattern, he couldn't unsee it. And once he understood the system, he could begin to change it. Now, before you think this is about becoming selfish or abandoning your family, let me be clear. This isn't about neglecting your responsibilities. This is about distinguishing between legitimate responsibilities and manufactured obligations. This is about recognizing the difference between partnership and exploitation. Hit that like button if you're starting to see your own situation more clearly. And comment below with your biggest realization from what I've shared so far. Christina Hoff Sommers identified 5 warning signs that indicate you're living as a slave in your marriage rather than as an equal partner. These signs are so common that most married men will recognize multiple patterns in their own lives. Warning sign. Number 1. Financial control without financial input. You earn the money, but you don't control how it's spent. Major financial decisions are made without your input or against your preferences. You feel guilty about spending money on yourself, even money you earned. This isn't partnership. This is taxation without representation. Warning sign number 2. Emotional labor imbalance. You're responsible for managing everyone else's emotional state, but no one takes responsibility for managing yours. Your stress, frustration, and exhaustion are treated as inconveniences rather than legitimate concerns. You're expected to be endlessly patient, understanding, and accommodating, while receiving minimal emotional support in return. Warning sign number 3. Social isolation. Your friendships, hobbies, and personal interests have been gradually eliminated or severely restricted. You're discouraged from maintaining relationships or activities that don't directly benefit the family unit. Your identity outside of husband and father has essentially disappeared. Warning sign number 4. Decision-making exclusion. Despite being the primary breadwinner and financial provider, you have minimal input on major family decisions. Where you live, how you spend holidays, how children are raised, how money is allocated. These decisions happen to you rather than with you. Warning sign number 5. Performance-based worth. Your value as a husband is measured entirely by your performance as a provider and problem solver. Love, appreciation, and respect are conditional on your ability to meet escalating expectations. You're constantly trying to earn acceptance in your own relationship. If you recognized yourself in 3 or more of these warning signs, you're not living in a marriage. You're living in a carefully constructed system of exploitation that uses your own masculine psychology against you. But here's the part that makes this truly insidious. This system doesn't just exploit individual men, it's destroying the institution of marriage itself. When men are systematically exploited in marriages, they eventually either break down or opt out. The rising rates of male suicide, depression, and relationship avoidance aren't coincidental. They're predictable outcomes of a system that treats half the population as disposable utilities rather than equal partners. Women aren't benefiting from this system either. When men are operating as slaves rather than partners, relationships become transactional rather than emotional. Resentment builds on both sides. Authentic intimacy becomes impossible when one person is performing service and the other is consuming it. Christina Hoff Sommers understood that the marriage slavery system ultimately destroys what it claims to protect. It doesn't create strong families. It creates dysfunctional dependencies. It doesn't build loving relationships. It builds exploitative arrangements that masquerade as love. So what's the solution? How do you escape a system that's designed to make escape seem impossible? The first step is recognition. You have to see the chains before you can break them. You have to understand that your dissatisfaction isn't a personal failing. It's a rational response to an irrational system. The second step is boundaries. You have to distinguish between reasonable requests and unreasonable demands, between legitimate needs and manufactured wants, between partnership obligations and slavery expectations. The third step is reclamation. You have to reclaim your right to personal time, personal space, personal interests, and personal financial autonomy, not by abandoning your family, but by modeling healthy masculinity instead of martyred masculinity. The fourth step is negotiation. You have to renegotiate the terms of your relationship from a position of self-respect rather than self-sacrifice. This means being willing to disappoint people in order to maintain your integrity. The fifth step is enforcement. You have to enforce your boundaries consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because people will test your resolve, and your response will determine whether your boundaries are respected or ignored. Let me share another story that illustrates these principles in action. I know a marketing executive who realized his marriage had become a master-slave relationship, disguised as partnership. He was working 70-hour weeks while his wife managed their social calendar and spent his income on lifestyle maintenance he didn't value. Instead of accepting this arrangement or filing for divorce, he applied Christina Hoff Sommers' framework for relationship renegotiation. He started by documenting exactly how his time, energy, and resources were being allocated. The results were shocking even to him. He was working 3,500 hours per year to fund a lifestyle that provided him with maybe 200 hours of genuine enjoyment. He was spending 60% of his income on expenses he didn't choose, for activities he didn't enjoy, to maintain standards he didn't set. Armed with this data, he initiated what he called the partnership conversation. He presented his findings to his wife and proposed a fundamental restructuring of their relationship. Instead of him working himself to death to fund her lifestyle management, they would both contribute to family goals they both valued. The conversation was difficult. She accused him of being selfish. She said he was abandoning his responsibilities. She threatened divorce, but he held his ground because he realized that a relationship built on his exploitation wasn't worth preserving. Here's what happened. Next, after the initial resistance, his wife began to recognize that the old system wasn't serving her either. She had become dependent on his overgiving, which made her feel guilty and insecure. She had lost respect for him as a partner because he never advocated for himself. They spent 6 months rebuilding their relationship on principles of mutual respect, shared responsibility, and genuine partnership instead of provider-consumer dynamics. 2 years later, he told me it was the best decision he ever made. Their relationship became stronger because it became honest. Their intimacy improved because it was based on choice rather than obligation. Their children learned healthier relationship models because they saw 2 adults cooperating rather than 1 adult serving another. This is what Christina Hoff Sommers understood. Breaking free from marriage slavery doesn't destroy relationships. It creates the possibility for authentic relationships based on mutual value rather than one-sided exploitation. But let me be brutally honest with you. Not every marriage can survive this transition. Some relationships are so fundamentally based on exploitation that they can't function when the exploitation ends. If your relationship is built on your willingness to sacrifice yourself for someone else's comfort, and that person is unwilling to create a more equitable arrangement, then you have to make a choice. Continue living as a slave in a relationship that diminishes you, or reclaim your dignity and accept the consequences. This is the hardest part of Christina Hoff Sommers' message. Sometimes the cost of freedom is the loss of relationships that were never really serving you anyway. Before we continue, I want you to take action on this content. Hit that like button if this video is opening your eyes to patterns you hadn't recognized before, and comment below, what's the biggest sacrifice you've made for your relationship that you're starting to question? Now let me address the inevitable pushback. Some people will say this content is anti-marriage or anti-woman. That's not true. This is pro-authentic relationship and pro-male dignity. The goal isn't to eliminate marriage, it's to eliminate exploitation from marriage. The goal isn't to harm women. It's to create relationships where both partners thrive rather than arrangements where one partner serves and the other consumes. Healthy women don't want slave husbands any more than healthy men want to be slaves. Healthy women want partners who respect themselves enough to maintain their own identity and boundaries. Healthy women understand that a man who sacrifices everything for them will eventually resent them for accepting that sacrifice. The marriage slavery system doesn't just harm men. It corrupts women by teaching them to mistake service for love, provision for partnership, and sacrifice for virtue. It creates women who are psychologically dependent on male overgiving and men who are emotionally dependent on female approval. Breaking. This cycle benefits everyone involved. It creates relationships based on mutual respect rather than mutual dependency. It produces healthier role models for children. It eliminates the resentment that builds when relationships are fundamentally inequitable. Christina Hoff Sommers saw this decades ago. She understood that the feminist movement had created new expectations for women without creating corresponding freedoms for men. Women were encouraged to pursue careers, maintain their identities, and prioritize their own fulfillment. But men were still expected to be traditional providers while adapting to women's evolving roles. This created an impossible situation. Men were expected to provide traditional masculine benefits while accepting non-traditional masculine treatment. They were supposed to earn like 1950s husbands while accepting authority like 1950s children. The result was predictable. Men began opting out of marriage entirely. Marriage rates plummeted. Birth rates declined. Relationship satisfaction decreased for both genders. The marriage slavery system was destroying the very institution it claimed to strengthen. But here's the opportunity hidden in this crisis. When we eliminate exploitation from marriage, we create space for something better. Partnerships based on genuine compatibility rather than gender role performance. Relationships that enhance both people's lives rather than diminishing one person's life for another's benefit. This requires courage from both men and women. Men have to be willing to disappoint people in order to maintain their integrity. Women have to be willing to participate in partnerships rather than consume services. It requires redefining masculinity and femininity in ways that serve human flourishing rather than social conditioning. It means teaching men that their worth isn't measured by their utility to others, and teaching women that their value isn't measured by their ability to extract resources from men. Most importantly, it requires honesty about what we actually want from relationships versus what we've been taught to want. Do you want a relationship where you're valued for who you are or where you're valued for what you provide? Do you want a partner who chooses you because they enjoy your company or because they need your services? Do you want love that enhances your life or love that consumes your life? These aren't rhetorical questions. Your answers will determine whether you remain trapped in the marriage slavery system or create something better. Let me share one final story that brings all of this together. Last month, I interviewed a couple who successfully transitioned from a master-slave marriage to an authentic partnership. They've been married for 12 years and have 3 children. For the first 8 years of their marriage, he worked increasingly longer hours to fund an increasingly expensive lifestyle, while she managed the household and made most family decisions. He was exhausted, resentful, and felt completely disconnected from his own life. She was stressed, guilty, and felt insecure about their relationship despite having most of the control. 4 years ago, he discovered Christina Hoff Sommers' work and realized he was living as a slave in his own marriage. Instead of continuing the pattern or filing for divorce, he initiated an honest conversation about restructuring their relationship. The transition took 2 years and wasn't easy. She had to learn to share decision-making authority. He had to learn to advocate for himself without becoming defensive or aggressive. They both had to learn to negotiate rather than either submit or demand, but the result was transformational. He now works reasonable hours at a job he enjoys, while contributing to family goals they both value. She contributes financially and professionally while sharing household responsibilities. They make major decisions together and support each other's individual growth. Most importantly, their relationship became voluntary rather than obligatory. They stay together because they choose each other every day, not because one person is trapped by financial dependency or social expectations. Their children are learning healthier relationship models. Their intimacy improved because it's based on mutual desire rather than role performance. Their respect for each other increased because they both maintain their individual dignity while building something together. This is what becomes possible when you eliminate slavery from marriage. Not the end of commitment, but the beginning of authentic partnership. Not the destruction of family, but the creation of healthier family dynamics. Christina Hoff Sommers was right. The marriage system that enslaves men ultimately destroys marriage itself. But when we liberate men from exploitation, we create space for relationships that actually serve human flourishing. The question is, are you ready to reclaim your dignity and create something better? Or are you going to continue accepting slavery because it's familiar? The choice is yours. But remember, while you're deciding whether to take action, other men are already applying these principles. They're already negotiating better relationships, setting healthier boundaries, and creating partnerships that enhance their lives rather than consuming them. The information exists, the framework is available, the examples are proven. The only question is whether you have the courage to apply what you now know. Here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, document exactly how your time, energy, and resources are being allocated in your relationship. Track how much time you spend on activities that genuinely fulfill you versus activities that serve other people's expectations. Measure how much control you have over major decisions that affect your life. Evaluate whether your relationship enhances your well-being or depletes it. Assess whether you're operating as an equal partner or as a convenient service provider. Most importantly, ask yourself this question. If your relationship ended tomorrow, would you miss the person or would you miss the services they provide? And conversely, if you disappeared tomorrow, would they miss you as a person or would they miss your utility? Your honest answers to these questions will tell you everything you need to know about whether you're living in a partnership or living in slavery. But don't just gather information. Act on it. Use Christina Hoff Sommers' framework to distinguish between legitimate relationship responsibilities and manufactured obligations. Start setting boundaries that protect your dignity while maintaining your commitments. Begin the conversation about restructuring your relationship from exploitation to partnership. And be prepared for resistance, because systems built on exploitation don't change voluntarily. Remember, the goal isn't to become selfish or abandoning your responsibilities. The goal is to create relationships that serve human flourishing rather than social conditioning. The goal is to model healthy masculinity for the next generation instead of martyred masculinity that teaches boys that their worth is measured by their willingness to sacrifice themselves for others. Your liberation from marriage slavery isn't just about you. It's about breaking generational patterns that have trapped men for decades and corrupted relationships for everyone involved. Before you go, I need you to take 3 actions. First, smash that like button if this video has fundamentally changed how you see your relationship. Your engagement tells me that content like this resonates and helps me create more videos that expose these hidden systems. Second, subscribe and hit the notification bell because I'll be releasing more content that reveals the psychological frameworks that shape human behavior. Knowledge like this can transform your life, but only if you stay connected to sources that provide it. Third, and most importantly, comment below with your commitment. Tell me one specific action you're going to take in the next 7 days to begin reclaiming your dignity in your relationship. Make it public, make it specific, and make it actionable. Your comment creates accountability and encourages other men who are struggling with similar issues. It also helps me understand what content serves you best. But remember, information without application is worthless. Christina Hoff Sommers provided the framework decades ago, but it only works if you have the courage to apply it. The marriage slavery system depends on men remaining unconscious of their exploitation. It requires you to mistake service for love, sacrifice for virtue, and bondage for commitment. But once you see the system clearly, you can't unsee it. And once you understand your options, you can't pretend you don't have choices. The only question remaining is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Choose wisely. Your dignity, your relationships, and your legacy depend on it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more hidden systems that shape human behavior without most people realizing it.